Hello, we are live. We're going to have Felix Economakis himself on in just a moment, but we're going to start off with a couple quick testimonials about ARFID and the treatment we've received from Felix. So stay tuned. Hello. This is Mira Boucher, and I'm here live on the Felix Economakis groups on Facebook, on his page, on the YouTube channel. I am a parent of a child with ARFID. I actually had ARFID myself well into my mid-20s. So I am here to introduce Felix and talk about some upcoming retreats that are being planned. That you can join in on if you too suffer from ARFID or have a child in your care with ARFID. So first thing I'd like to do is share a quick testimonial, because we all love to share stories. It's sometimes we don't realize that there's other people that have ARFID that we can lean on for support. And certainly that was the case when I had ARFID. I didn't even realize I had ARFID until I had to deal with it with my own son. So I would like to bring in my son, Josh, who is now 16. He's going to be attending the retreat that Felix Economakis is putting on in New Jersey this summer. There's a teen retreat and there is an adult retreat. So the teen retreat is from July 25th to 28th. There's still a few spots left. And there's also an adults retreat from August 1st to 4th for young adults. So let me bring on my son, Josh. He goes by Jay. We're based up in Canada. If you are listening in, we would love to use the chat and hear from you. Please drop in the chat, where you're from, where you're tuning in from, and feel free to ask questions. Felix himself will be on here very shortly, so he will be able to answer all your questions. And I will kick that off with a mini interview so we can learn more about Felix and how he got started with ARFID treatment as a psychologist, and some of the things he's learned over the years. Because I do believe he is the foremost expert on ARFID in the world. He's treated thousands and thousands of cases, had a TV show about it, and all these sorts of things. So, Jay, Josh, I'm going to unmute you. I would love to hear, from your perspective, what happened with ARFID. From my perspective, I can tell you real quick, your dad and I spent a good 10 years of our lives dealing with, very, very restrictive eating and worrying ourselves sick, and going to about 50 therapists, OTs, SLPs, behavioral therapists, all this kind of thing. But I think, Josh, a turning point for me was one time, tell me if you remember this, where one of the therapists we work with gave you a ball of yarn and said, how much anxiety do you have when it comes to eating? Do you remember that?
And you'd have to remind me when this was.
She said, take this ball of yarn and stretch out how much yarn to represent how much anxiety you have. And you took the ball of yarn and you ran with it until there was no more yarn. You went around the house. It took like an hour to clean it up. You ran around the house and you wouldn't stop until, so you were a bit younger at that point, maybe 6 or 7. But that's a turning point that I think is relevant to what we'll talk about with Felix in a minute, which is that ARFID often has a lot of fear, related to it. So, so that's, So tell us real quick, Josh, your perspective. What was it like to have ARFID, and what was it like to receive that treatment from Felix?
Well, so thanks, Mom. My name is Josh. Some of my friends call me Jay, but you guys can call me Josh. Um, and yeah, I know how like frustrating it can feel, definitely, and it can definitely feel scary. It's like a stigma around food that you have in your brain. And I remember when I first met with Felix, he used this analogy that there's a little like stick man in my head that's protect, trying to protect like um, myself from the dangers of what could happen if I ate foreign foods, you know? So like it's sort of like a a defense immune system, but it's more like fear of the unknown, right? And yeah, so for a long time I had like a pretty short list of safe foods. I think it was just bread and butter, mac and cheese, uh, and even pasta, like penny pasta, but without any sauce, like just butter. I didn't want to try any seasonings or anything, and I feel like it wasn't necessarily from a traumatic experience I had with food, but more so just like it was built up over time, and I just like it was you could say it was like fear of throwing up and never eating again, but it was more just like a fear of not liking it, getting nauseous, and just it we make our fears out bigger than they actually are. And so I'd say I'd say a turning point as well was when I first learned how to cook. Like when I was 9 and we were at our getaway cabin in the winter, I learned to make boxed like mac and cheese, and that was a step in my confidence because even though it was a food that was safe for me, like that I would one of the only foods that I would genuinely eat and like actually enjoy. Um, it taught me to like trust that food better, and so yeah, I had to go at my own pace with that, like one step at a time. And I think I started getting out of that when I was like 10. I started to eat more. That was also around the same time where I started like building a larger, wider group of friends. Because I mean, I feel like sometimes it can be a social aspect. Like, Felix also talked to me about this when we first met. Like, what if I was with a group of my friends and we were out eating in like New York City, and we were gonna try all these cool new foods, and I didn't want to have to be the guy that like the one guy that just didn't want to eat, that was just too scared, that chickened out. And so yeah, it's sort of like the fear is definitely very real, but it's it's not impossible to overcome. And I think a key step into overcoming ARFID is to tell yourself that it's possible.
Nice. And Josh, we did meet with Felix. The mind-boggling part from me as a parent was that in one session, Felix was able to alleviate a ton of that anxiety around food, and you were able to eat immediately after the session 5 or 6 or maybe even 8 foods within the first hour that you had never in your life eaten before. Carrots, quesadillas, complex foods, pasta with sauce on it, like things that we would have never dreamed. And I mean, this was you, I think, in Amsterdam with a school trip where you were eating everything.
Yeah, that's
And yeah, now more recently working with a chef in our home to build skills around cooking. So amazing stuff. As far as working with Felix, Josh, do you recall the session? You were about 10, right? Do you recall that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was that like?
Well,
brother in the background there. Okay.
Um,
We're going to
I
bring
believe,
Felix himself on and chat about retreats and interview
yeah,
him. But
is
tell us
Felix
about,
coming on right now?
no, in a second. Tell me what it was like to work with Felix in that session.
So I remember when I was working with him, he, as I said, he told me about like the little barrier in my head that was preventing me. And so, yeah, he told me like he told me that when I'm trying new stuff, it's like a battle with that guy. He's like a soldier. He's trying to protect you, but at the same time, like your super ego is saying, you know, it's not like it's not that bad. It's not going to kill you. And you know, he was saying.
And do you remember, Josh, after that, being able to eat the foods for the first time? What was that like?
It was sort of like relieving, you know. It was sort of, it felt like that analogy kind of was setting in. And so every time from that point when I had started to like doubt the foods that were placed in front of me, like you sort of started reminding me of that soldier. And it was hard because, I mean, sometimes, like, I don't know if it's with autism, but we're scared to leave our comfort zone, even when it's closer to our from our reach than we think. Like,
super interesting. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that, Josh. I'm going to bring Felix on. Felix has changed Josh's life, but also changed our life as parents. My husband and I mean, to be able to travel and not have to find a place that has plain pasta and understands it has to be totally plain, and to be able to, you know, have nutrition for you, Josh, so you can regulate your emotions and just, you know, live more peacefully. It's been amazing. And so that's where this idea for the retreats came up, because we realized that even though you had that treatment with Felix and it was a breakthrough, it was life-changing, just one session, it was amazing. There's this whole ecosystem around someone with ARFID that also can use support. And so I'd like to bring Felix on. Felix, come on in.
Good
Thanks
afternoon.
for waiting there while we were talking behind your back.
That's fine. I was listening there. And you know, Josh, well done. I saw you when you were 10. That was a long time ago. Like, what did he do 6 years ago? So well done on remembering. I can't remember what I did last week. So well done. And yeah, we'll go over some of the steps there, because it's less about the details. And you remember, yeah, the little soldier, and I just gotta, you know, reassure my mind, reassure that part of me, and keep doing this. And you know, you're gonna remember snippets of it, but yeah, the rest is the action that happens and building momentum behind that. So yeah, nice to see you again, and always heartwarming to hear all the stories as well. Mira and I were speaking to a parent the other day with this defeated look on his face, going, every day I go to McDonald's drive-through, I queue up, I wait, and I don't know if he has to go twice, but you can just see I'm so fed up with doing this, and you know, waiting and buying McDonald's and wishing my son could eat something else. So that's the kind of transformation we want to help with people to break out of this, you know, fear. Like, I don't want to feed my son this stuff, but I don't know what else to do. Yeah. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for sharing that. You know why? I think it's important for other teens to know that there's teens out there with ARFID, and that there are ways to get support for that. And that, you know, we tried all the mainstream ways, and they were very, very time consuming and very, very, I'm sorry, but not very effective, right?
Yeah.
Remember that, Josh? Do you remember all the different people?
And we're underestimating Josh here, because you've given updates, Mira, about Josh has made this amazing dish, you know, with the chef, and Josh is eating this and Josh is eating that. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So in terms of variety, and yeah, exactly, the things that you posted on the book over the years on the Facebook,
Well, I took a picture yesterday even because it's still a miracle because you ate a whole salad yesterday, Josh. A big plate of salad with dressing, with radish, with onions.
That was good dressing, eh?
Yeah.
A little salt changed everything.
Yeah.
A little salt. Yeah, he's like, oh, needs a little salt. So these are like miracles that would have not been possible before. So we're very grateful. Thank you. All right. Thanks for stopping by. And for those wondering, I run a wine club now. So definitely my ARFID has been cured. I eat just about anything now. It wasn't because I met Felix necessarily, because Felix wasn't doing these treatments at that time when I was overcoming my ARFID in the mid-20s. But I do understand how this all impacts people who do suffer from it. So, Felix, I wanted to ask you a few questions, and I think in the chat we're starting to get comments here from people and questions. So I think what we'll do is maybe I'll ask you the first couple questions, and then I see, Anna, I see your comment there and question, and I've got more probably that will come through. So first of all, please tell us, Felix, more about how you got into treating ARFID to begin with, and what, in a nutshell, what your journey's taught you.
Sure. Okay. So like many things in life, this was a random chance event. I had worked on a program that BBC on called The Panic Room, which was with extreme phobias, usually of animals. And we're doing the same thing. So one session treatments and people holding tarantulas and stroking snakes, things like that. And 2 years later, somebody saw that and said, look, would you like to audition for a Freaky Eater Series 3? What is that? And I didn't really watch much TV. And they explained it to me. And I said, okay, so it's like a phobia of food. Now, unbeknownst to me, this was a revelation, to see it this way. But because I see things in a different way, I didn't have some limiting beliefs or education to approach it and sit in the same usual filters. I approached it with a fresh mind. I treated it like a phobia, and it's responded very well. Now, a lot of people say to me, okay, but that's the phobic version of ARFID. I've got the sensory processing. And again, on my TED Talk, I kind of say, when people say I've got sensory processing, I'm new to this. I'm self-taught. I think, well, this isn't going to work. Maybe I can help them maybe 10%. And I've seen 90% improvements. So just got me thinking, I think fear inflates the sensory processes here as well. Yeah. So as I'm learning about this, I'm beginning to realize, we're moving away from these external foods have this power over me back into internal processes. So if my mind doesn't think food is safe, it's living in a fight or flight reaction, and it's thinking, I better turn up my smell, I better turn up this, I better turn up that because I'm in danger. So all the senses are inflated. So once you calm the mind and de-traumatize people, you find those things calm down and people eat this a lot more neutrally. Yeah. So a little bit before that, I'm a chartered psychologist. I had a mainstream psychology education, but I was fortunate at the time to come across clinical hypnosis, just found it really fascinating. And from that, I also came across something called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And this was much more suited to me, my style of thinking, because I didn't like the excessive focus on details of mainstream psychology, the excessive intellectualization. I kind of like talk on processes, on big picture. What's the process? Let's work with the process. So let's put it this way. There's left brain therapy and right brain therapy. So left brain therapy is very logical, very analytical. This is conventional psychology and most things people do. CBT, AR, for instance. The problem is, as you said, Mira, after seeing so many people, and you're not alone, I've heard this literally thousands of times, it's just not very effective for most people, unless they're quite close to the threshold and very, very logical people. But, the revelation for me was I've seen professional chefs for ARFID. I've seen no end of amateur chefs, people who love cooking, that can't eat their own food. And when a professional chef said to me, logically, I know food is safe. It's grown on my organic farm. I've got great reviews. I chop your hand all day. I can put it in my mouth. I just can't swallow it. I have no idea why. Well, the logical therapy won't help you. Yeah. So we've got to do something else. So what I like about NLP and things like that is the idea, let's cut the chase. Let's work directly with the part of the mind who doesn't trust food. The logical mind trusts food, but there's another part that says, well, I don't trust food. I'm not listening to you. I don't think it's safe to eat. That's the part I want to work with. So I really appreciated the sort of creative. I'm a creative person at heart. I much prefer the creative approaches of these kind of therapies versus the more analytical, content-orientated, focused therapies. So as I developed these right brain therapies more with a lot of practice, a lot of people, I refined them a lot. I took on board feedback. I took on board feedback from neurodiversity, and I made them something very, very streamlined and efficient in most cases. So after I did Freak Eaters Series 3, that went live. I got a lot of calls from around the country and a lot of interest. So journalists came to see me. They said, can you help me with my ARFID? Then they wrote up about it, one session again. That led to several other programs, a program in Germany, a program in Japan. This is all live film therapy. Extreme food phobics, which was, I think I saw 8 people, possibly 10. The other therapist was someone trained in my approach. She saw people too, we're both having one session success. So, this is a proven formula. It's not a magic one because it also depends on the client, how much work there is to do. Are they willing, able to follow instructions? Are they able to commit to something until it sticks? Just like, if you want to be good at piano, do you give up after one piano lesson or do you come stick with it a little bit till you get the hang of it? But in a nutshell, after that, I developed ARFID groups on Facebook, learning as well from people posting. I developed the Facebook channel, and I'm very open to learning, and I will test my stuff. I'll ask people when I remember, would you like this to be filmed to help other people? We do before and after, and I've got well over 200 before and after clips on YouTube, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just to prove this works. So, do people need a second session sometime? Well, sure. Like everything in life. Sometimes I need to go back to the gym. I don't have the gym body forever. I need to keep doing some stuff with it, So, yes, you do need to have maintenance and things like that. You've got to do things until things set. Your body's running in a rhythm that way. So that's really it. I'm drawn to these therapies and developing my own integration of things and just have a lot of fun developing, refining, creating it, and seeing the results. Yeah.
And it's changed a lot of lives. And I think you mentioned there that you can regress. You might have this big breakthrough in a session where someone who's never been able to eat, let's say, any vegetables suddenly eats 5 or 10. And it's something that we've tried doing, with all these therapists and exposure therapy and CBT for years. Nobody's been able to get this person to eat even a bite of a carrot. And then suddenly they've had one session with you and they're eating every vegetable. And it's incredible. So sort of in a nutshell, what would you say is so different about that approach that you have?
So it's a little bit hard to explain because I know on the Facebook forums we belong to, what does Felix do? Is it hypnosis? Is it this? Like they reduce it to one thing. Like it's lots of things. Firstly, I no longer use conventional hypnosis. I've taken the learning and ideas from it, but I don't use it. There's too many issues with it, with control. And even when people say I want to be hypnotized, most of the time they don't. So I'll say, oh, you do? Take a nice deep breath, close your eyes. Okay, yeah, close your eyes. Okay, and the mind's going, wait a minute, I feel out of control. So I say, you know what? I just want you to be comfortable. Don't worry about being hypnotized. If your mind's going to change, it's going to change. So that's the first I want to reassure people because people still think I've got some old marketing out there. Oh, my daughter doesn't like being hypnotized, so this won't work for her. I don't do it anymore. Yeah. So that's important to know. So what makes this difference is there's 2 things going on. There's what I do, which is my approach called the 4 R's, which I've trained people in, and they've had success too. But it's also how you do it. And this comes from experience and just intuition and building rapport. So when I see a client, even a 16-year-old, he or she is not really my client. My client is that scared little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old. That's the one who's really my client. So you've got to develop a therapy to put this part of the mind at ease. Yeah. So everything I do is designed for that. It's sort of make people feel at ease, take the pressure off, make this part of the mind feel understood. I want this mind to feel, finally, some guy gets me. This is exactly what's going on. I'm not being difficult. This guy knows. Yeah? So when the mind feels that, it opens up to this idea that finally someone, and I'm going to listen. And he said, Don't worry about food. There's no pressure to eat. Forget the food. You'll eat when you're ready. So I'm not going to do what my other therapist did. So number one is I help build trust, which lowers resistance. Yeah. And I help people get intrigued about learning about stuff. So I explain things in a way that's not very logical, analytical. It's much more metaphors, analogies, which are very popular with NLP and hypnosis. The mind learns best with stories, analogies, examples like that. So now we have a person who's maybe intrigued by learning, even a young child. Yeah. And then I'm working with this part of the mind, reassuring it, checking in with it, and very choice driven. I want people to feel in control. There's ways of using language where you say it's up to you. If your mind's gonna make a decision for you, it's got to be an informed choice. Yeah. So there's techniques to help that. I want the person to feel no one's pushing me, no one's judging me. This makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I don't want the old way. I want the new way. And it's also that conceptual shift that I'm eroding, I'm debunking all these beliefs. With all examples and everything put together, very simply, when the subconscious mind realizes that little soldier that Josh shared, food isn't actually dangerous. There's been a big misunderstanding. So if food's actually safe to explore, then I don't need to gag. I don't need to panic. I don't need to close my throat. I don't need to vomit because it's not dangerous. So once we have that learning, everything changes. That's how it can work very quickly. So the way I look at it is, we are designed to eat more food than we're eating. I mean, biologically, everyone I see can eat more than they're eating. I just know that in my heart. So if they're not doing that, it's fear stopping them. There's a spanner in the works. So my therapy is very good at removing the spanner in the works, or most of it in one go. And then the system auto-corrects. It kind of aligns to, well, if that's not the way, I feel ready to explore foods. Now, just like swimming, there's a shallow and there's a deep end. There's shallow foods, there's deep end foods. So the mind might go, I'm ready to try the shallow foods and a couple of the medium ones, but I want to build up to the deep end. Sure. Yeah. So it's not a cure in that at the end of one session with Felix, I eat everything, I love everything. No, nothing works like that. You don't swim after one session, bike ride. You build up confidence. So there's still work to do, but we want to open that door or remove that wall. Yeah. And this is teaching a person, how do I work with my mind towards this healthy goal of what I call being a scientist with food, which means we do experiments with food and we trust ourselves to cope. Yeah. So all my techniques are built into helping a person that way. And again, getting away from very intellectual therapies where people say you need to challenge your mind. Yeah, I know. You need to eat more veg. Like, I don't know that. And you need to stare at it and say to yourself, it's fine. This food is fine. Yeah, but I don't really feel it's fine. I still feel it's dangerous because of food rules. Yeah. So it's either ineffective or it takes a super long time. I regularly have people eating curries and lasagna after one session. It's just another Tuesday. Yeah. So this is what's possible when you know where to apply leverage and what the mind needs to be helped to do the healthy path. When you know that, you can cut the chase and cut out a lot of this detailed stuff and yarns of wool and balls. Like, what does that do? What's the point of that?
I know. But the point was though that it did help us realize, like, holy smokes, for my son anyway, the anxiety was through the roof when it came to foods. And it makes sense. Like, since he was 4, everyone in his life is hyper fixated about how do we get this child to eat something.
Yeah, I know that. Just that, I know you're terrified. You don't need to prove it to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I just go to it like, let's assume you're terrified, you have panic. And now let's teach you what the brain's doing with panic and how you can move outside of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all these things working together, building on each other. Behind the scenes, they make a person feel understood, not judged, not pressure, relatable analogies and things like this. They all build on each other along with an effective approach. So I said, a good therapy takes a good client and has really great results. Yeah. You see other therapies take a great client, have lousy results or no results. But a good therapy, you can convert even what others would call a poor client into, good results. Yeah. And then if you have a great client with a great therapy, you have fantastic results. So this is the point of it. Yeah. It helps people move along. Yeah.
Fascinating and amazing. So with the upcoming retreats, there's one in New Jersey for teens. 13 to 18 on July 25th to 28th. That's the one that Josh and I are going to be at.
Yes.
There's also a young adults retreat in New Jersey from August 1st to 4th. This is for 19 to 27-year-olds. Tell us more about the vision around the retreats.
So, as you know from Josh, we had an hour and a half, which is the limit of even an adult's attention in most cases. So I'm going to talk quite fast, which I talk anyway, but I've got to pack in a lot of information. Now, that's great. You know, if the child's like, yeah, I'm in London, I've got a couple of days to experiment with food without pressure, great. The problem is, most times people are thrown back in the real world with real stresses, and they take the eye off the ball. So many times I've heard, you know, can you see my son again? Oh, I'm sure, but he ate so many foods. Yeah, he was doing really well, but then he got thrown back into exams here, and his mind was on exams, on the food. Like, oh, I just want my safe food. I can't think about that now. I want something. I don't want to think about it and focus on my exams. And then 2 months later, like, oh, I'm afraid to try new food because I've de-skilled myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a great point, Felix. And you know what else happens? It's the stressors of life, but also the parents, right? So we as parents, we got so excited that Josh was trying chicken nuggets, right? That my husband was like, oh, you ate one chicken nugget. Why can't you have 3 or 5? You know, so it was, it's the ecosystem around the person with ARFID too that needs to change.
Correct, which is something I'll also be addressing in the retreat. So there's many benefits of the retreat for this. Number one is you get away from it all for like 4 days. Yeah, that means all we do is we allow, you don't have the distractions of everything else. You're with people in the same boat, supporting each other. What are you eating? Do you want to try this? I tried it. Encouraging each other. You've got time for everything to stick, to set, which is great. Because once you have a solid foundation after 4 days, like I'm eating this, I'm eating that, and I really believe this now, you create resilience with a person. So this immersive experience with people supporting, with parents also being educated. Again, this is new because I don't know of any other, you know, clinic in the world where, you know, the parents are also being educated, not in family-based therapy, but I'm talking about the children in the front, the adults in the back. I'm talking to both. I have separate sessions for adult FAQs and things like that, and everyone's involved. And then we talk about dynamics around meal times and stuff in a way that they go, oh, yeah. So this is an immersive experience for everybody. It's changing the system. It's not just changing one thing like, oh, yeah, I'm more encouraged to eat food. It's like we all understand this better. We know what we need to do. We've got a new understanding with each other, new relationship with food and ourselves about it. So that's the real, and also the retreat gives me just more time. You know, I can talk about other things, and about anxiety in general. It's about calming the mind, why that's important. Relapses. I can talk about all these things, which I just don't have time to do in an hour and a half, especially with a 10-year-old, 9-year-old. So, yeah, there's going to be cumulative effect of everyone who attends this, and we're out in nature as well, which helps. So everyone has the space and the time to just really take on board these ideas in a supportive environment, people in the same boat. Yeah.
I love that. And we're really looking forward to it. And it's really great to have met some of the other parents in recent Zooms. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And there are a few more spots left. So we thought we would go live and share a little bit more about it and see if there's people that have questions about the retreats. They can always tune in here about that. We do have a question from Anna. Anna is asking, I'm going to be headed to EMDR to work out a few things pertaining to OCD, food allergies, and ARFID. It worked for me in the past with my CPTSD, so I'm looking forward to it. Any wise words of encouragement for me?
Just to be clear about the encouragement about what exactly?
Going into EMDR to work out OCD, food allergies, and ARFID.
Sure. Encouragement is just be open to process and everything. I don't know if this is what I want to hear, but I've also trained in EMDR, trained a lot of things. I find it's a bit hard work. It's a bit laborious because you're asked to imagine traumatic experiences, break them down into nodes, while the therapist asks you to focus, which is sort of distraction while the mind processes stuff. It puts you through some distress, even if temporarily, but it takes a long time and it kind of hurts the elbow. The process I use is, rather than breaking down each node, each segment, and then rating it, you take the whole thing with the mind and say, this whole thing, can we just let go of the whole thing? So it's a lot quicker. Yeah. So most phobias and OCD are some kind of trauma-based, either a single event or a phase of anxiety over time. And the mind has got these safety rules, food safety rules, cleaning rituals, contamination rituals. And I've also helped a lot of people with OCD in one session. So again, techniques work. Some techniques are more efficient than others. So again, as much of a fan I was of EMDR when I first trained in it, the stuff I've come across develops far superior and effective for the future. Just in case. Now, some people love EMDR, wonderful. But I have had a lot of people say I tried that too, but it didn't quite wasn't effective enough for me. Sure, try other things as well. But if that's what you've signed up for, then go for it. Trust the person doing it to guide you in everything. Be open-minded, and hope for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And anyone else that's got questions, I'm keeping an eye on the groups as well, because those don't show up in our main feed here. But if you've got questions, please drop them in the chat. I wanted to cover that we are going to be in New Jersey at Rutgers University Inn, which is in New Brunswick, New Jersey, for these retreats coming up the end of July and the beginning of August with Felix for 3.5 days. The Rutgers Inn is great in the sense that it's very private. It's in nature, as Felix mentioned, so surrounded by woods that we can go for walks in and feel a little bit removed from the hustle and bustle of the city. And they were very kind to understand that there was going to be a number of dietary restrictions and needs. So we are working with offsite caterers that they've allowed to be able to
that's actually another benefit, Mira. Like here in my consulting room, I'm limited to parents have to rush down the road, get supermarket quality food. It's like it's the lamest food you can possibly get, microwaved by me. So I joke around like, if you can eat supermarket food microwaved by me, you can eat anything. Here we got a caterer. That's going to make it even easier. Because I often joke, like if I had a great restaurant next to me could deliver, my job would be so much easier. If I bring in people go, God, this is really nice. I like this. What's this? Instead of like, supermarket quality sandwiches and salads, which are awful, overly, too much mayo in stuff. So having cater is actually another great asset to this retreat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anna is just saying it's hard. The trauma runs deep with the contamination and health stuff. I'm excited and thank you. And Robin is asking, what is the best way? What would you recommend to explain this to her 20-year-old who she would love to have attend?
Sure.
How would you recommend I explain this to her, given she has made ARFID such a part of her identity?
Right. One way is for her to see some other people her age and younger on their YouTube channel saying, look, this is before the session, terrified. This is after session, calmly eating food. Felix is saying, come on, please, you got to eat food. You're going to do it. We're not doing that. They're calmly doing it of their own volition and saying, this is open to you as well. We want to create a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of like, well, if they're doing it, then I can do it. You can't really force someone to do something. You can just seed some ideas there. Yeah. But I'd like to say the help is there for you. And also, just as an aside, this idea that it's part of my identity, sure, but it's still a behavior. It's not really you. If you think about all the behaviors we've had as children that we outgrew and other things, and, being a punk rocker and this, whatever, is that us? Well, no, I'm still me. You're still you. And these are just phases and behaviors we try on and take off, but it's not us, So I'm saying fear, you shouldn't really identify with fear because it's not you. It's a restriction. If you don't have choice about something, that's not you. The real you has choice about things. Fear is it's me or death. That's not choice. But when you say I can eat this food if I want to, or I cannot if I want to, or I can eat something else, that's more choice. That's more authentic you. That's the real you. The fear kind of squashes you and says that's the real you. It's not. The real you has a lot more choice and potential. This is just a spanner in the works, a fear restricting you that you've over-identified with, but you're not your behavior. Yeah, you're capable. We know this after 7,000 people of eating a lot more than you think you can. So that's the thing to take away. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Felix. And Robin says, wonderful. Thank you for such a great perspective. Great. Yeah. So as far as the retreats, since I don't see any more questions right now, if any more come in the next couple minutes, we're happy to answer them here. But as far as the retreats go, there's also one being planned in the UK at the end of October.
Correct.
If you were thinking of coming to the ones in New Jersey, end of July, early August, there are some spots left, but it's good to act fairly quickly. I'd say in the next week or so to get that booked in. And the way to do that is I have a couple of info documents. I'm helping Felix as a parent here coordinate these since he's in London and I'm out in Canada. And we'll be traveling to New Jersey. So we do have info documents for each of them. You can also drop a direct message to Felix or through the group to be able to get on the email list for updates. And in the event here, and I'll drop it in the chat too, is the info document with all the details about the retreats. So we would love to see you reach out if this is something you think might be helpful for you. And Felix, I have a quick question here from Tiffany. And this is about a 12-year-old with ARFID. We were in Japan for 2.5 weeks recently to visit our oldest son. Our 12-year-old son is not diagnosed with ARFID, but we know that is what is going on since he was 12 months old. Our oldest son was able to get our 12-year-old to try many new foods. Some he said was doable to eat again. Others he said he would not be able to eat again. Since being back home, he's not wanted to try any of the new foods again. What would be the best way to get him to try the yes foods again?
Yeah, so what happens is, in a moment of calmness, his big brother is the big hero and he's eating it. I want to, bond with him and I want to eat this. He forgets to be afraid of stuff. He forgets, the usual rules. Then back home without that, he's like, oh no, that's not official food, official safe food. This is official safe food. So it's a little bit hard. You can remind him, yep, you did it before and you're fine and you enjoyed it. You can do it again. But we want to take the pressure off. So again, it's how something is managed that's really important, because everyone's really too focused on the logic. But logically, you ate it, so logically eat again. I think we're more as a dance with a person. There's approach, avoid it, pull back, approach, pull back. Too much and they'll start to defenses down, too little, they won't really do anything. You've got to sort of have a sense of their process and their rhythm and know when to say something like, it's there, just saying, and then whoop, don't say anything else. Because parents are like, but this is unhealthy, you've got to eat it. Come on, just try it. If you love me, just do it. Come on, one. They do all this stuff and the child just goes, careful, pressure now. So sometimes it's like choice driven is, sweetheart, you did it before, you can do it again. Putting responsibility back on the child is also, I'm going to this birthday party, the sleepover, I didn't eat anything. Well, sweetheart, you know what? If you apply the thing Felix taught you on the video or whatever, you'll eat it, but I can't do it for you, So if you tell your mind to do it the way I explained, it'll do it. And then, because the child's expecting, can you make me do it? Can you try and convince me to do it? And then I'll say no. And you'll say yes, and I'll say no, and you say yes, and maybe you'll win. Isn't that how it works? No. We're going to teach the child responsibility. Yeah. For what they want and why they want it. Yeah.
Makes sense. So, I appreciate the questions, you guys. I've been there as a mom. Oh my God, it's so hard. And there is hope. And we certainly are grateful for what Felix has done for our family in working with Josh, who some of you who were here earlier would have met. He came on the live. You can rewind it if you want to hear from the mouth of someone who had ARFID and was effectively cured of it. Like now he's eating things I won't eat. He's eating spicy things and all kinds of things. So Tiffany says, Felix, thank you. That makes perfect sense. Awesome. Yes. So as far as the links, it's not letting me add these links here for the info packets, but in the post where you found this live, the links are there for the info. And certainly if you direct message us, we can send you that link directly. And it's also in Felix's 3 groups. So there are 3 groups. If you look up ARFID, ARFID Parents Care Support Group, there's the testimonials for Felix Economakis, and there's the overcoming ARFID for adults with ARFID.
And testimonials for adults with ARFID. So it's actually 4 groups.
Oh, you have another one. Okay.
For adults as well. Just broken down.
So, and there's so many YouTube videos on the YouTube channel of more and more testimonials. It's really phenomenal. And what I'm excited about,
this is the tip of the iceberg, because I think, if I overlook everyone who comes in, I tape them, come on, it's overkill. Do you really need like 7,000 videos or something? No, you need just, I think a couple of hundred make the point. Plus there's dozens here on the Facebook channels, although they've been deleted now because Facebook Live has said we're deleting all your Facebook stuff for storage reasons. But there's also just write-ups and feedbacks still present there. So yeah, I mean, we know this works.
It does. It's amazing. And I'm so excited to see it in this new context, like you said, where it really has more time to set and you can build a support system or affect the system of support around the person with ARFID. So it's really exciting. Great. So join us if you have ARFID or you're caring for a child with ARFID. Join us in New Jersey if you can. UK coming up as a retreat option at the end of October. And also, Felix, what other ways can people work with you? There's your one-on-one sessions and there's video.
So there's one-on-one. I also do Zoom sessions because people say, oh, I live too far away. Everyone does Zoom nowadays. I've also got a generic therapy video. That's me talking to a cameraman as if they're a client. There's a senior version and a junior version. So the senior version is me talking as if to a 13-year-old upwards. Another one is 12 years old and below. So there's those options: face-to-face, Zoom, or generic video, or a retreat.
There you go.
Prefer,
Excellent. Well, it was so great to connect with you, Felix. Thanks so much for taking the time. And thanks to everyone that asked questions. And we will see you guys again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.